start a minute early this time. Welcome to the last day, day 5 of senior speeches this year. Before we hear from Colin and Olivia and Liam, just a couple of comments. We're always focused on everybody on the front row here, but sometimes I like to look back here at you guys. It's one of the joys of being involved in the school and headmaster, athletic director, or whatever, being at games or being at these plays and events and just watching your parents' faces and your grandparents and just how proud they are. There might be a couple of them crying today, and so that's always a blessing to see just the pride in your parents' eyes. So I commend to you. Go to whatever you're doing next, get married and have kids. It's a great thing. Your life's not complete without it. Children are a blessing. So, and then as I look up here, you know, what's been happening here is a beautiful picture of what happens here at Eastwood. It's called a classic conversation. What you're hearing are students telling you something engaging, and then their instructor coming up and having a conversation with you about that conversation. And that's a little microcosm of what happens here at Eastwood. So I personally want to say how much I appreciate Mr. Miller as a friend and as a colleague, and just seeing his work in the school in this classic conversation with these kids, and just thanking him for, there's not a time that I can sneak into his office, his classroom, and have a little classic conversation, just the stuff you're seeing happen here. There's nothing that I can bring up that I don't feel like he can carry the water on, and crazy examples. And so, anyways, on behalf of the school and the seniors and the families here, thank you, Mr. Miller, for your work and the and me personally for such a great classic conversation. So with that, we go eyes back to the front row here. Parents, nobody's watching you. You can cry. Your kids are going to come up, the final 3, and finish. Colin, you're going to do great, man. Come on up. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, and welcome to the final day of senior speeches. I realize that almost all of you would like to be at home right now, but that's too bad. Now, when I think of the biggest lesson I've learned, it didn't come from a single moment where everything suddenly made sense. It came from a series of small mistakes, some embarrassing, and some that had real consequences. And honestly, most of them could have been avoided if I did one thing: listened. One of the earliest memories I have of not listening comes from the first time fishing with my dad and my sister. I remember being excited, thinking I already understood what to do just by watching him. Before we went fishing, my dad said one very important thing: don't pull the line hard when you caught on something in the water. Of course, like a lot of kids, I thought I knew better, and the funny thing is, I saw him do the exact same thing he told me not to do. That made me feel more confident that I didn't have to listen. So there I was, casting my line, convinced I had it all figured out. At one point, I felt a strong tug and immediately thought, this is it. I've got the biggest fish. I started reeling it in, full of excitement, already imagining bragging to everyone about it later. But when I finally pulled it out of the water, it wasn't a big fish at all. It was a piece of moss that was stuck onto the surface of the pond. That moment should have been the first clue that maybe I didn't know as much as I thought I did. The same mindset followed me through high school. Before I even started, my parents and teachers kept telling me the same thing: high school is harder than you think it is. You need to stay on top of your work. You can't just rely on natural ability anymore. At the time, I heard them, but I didn't really listen. In my head, I thought they're overreacting. It can't be that bad. Even other students warned me, people who had already been through the same things: how classes got more difficult, how assignments piled up, how easy it was to fall behind if I weren't careful. But again, I brushed it off. I figured everyone else wasn't trying hard enough, or maybe they just weren't as capable. At first, it seemed like I was right. I was doing okay, putting not much effort into things. I could get by, finish assignments quickly, and still have plenty of time to relax. That only made me more confident that all those warnings were exaggerated. I started to think, maybe my parents and teachers were wrong. Maybe I was just special. But that confidence didn't last. Slowly, things started to change. The work got harder, the expectations got higher, and the habit that I built, like not studying, not asking for help, and not taking things seriously started catching up with me. Assignments that once felt easy became confusing. Tests that I thought I could pass without studying suddenly didn't go so well. Then the grades started to come in. At first, it was just one bad grade. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. Everybody messes up sometimes, right? But then it happened again and again. Before I knew it, it wasn't just one bad grade, it was a pattern. And that's when reality started to hit. I realized I wasn't in control like I thought I was. All those warnings I ignored, they were exactly right. And just when I thought things couldn't get more chaotic, I managed to make one of the worst mistakes, most ridiculous mistakes of all. Something that perfectly summed up how not to pay attention can go wrong. But now back to fishing. At one point, when I was yanking on the line thinking I had finally caught the fish, of course not being careful, I accidentally pulled a little too hard on the line. When it came flying out of the water, it hooked my sister in her leg. Yeah, that actually happened. It was funny at the time because I was little, but it definitely wasn't something I meant to do. While my sister was crying, my dad telling me to stop pulling, I just kept pulling. But looking back, it was the perfect example of what happens when you don't listen and don't think things through. Someone gets hooked, sometimes literally, sometimes in other ways. In school, the consequences weren't always physical, but they were still serious. Those bad grades eventually led to something I never expected for myself, summer school. That was a turning point. Sitting there, having to redo what I should have done right the first time. I finally started to understand what everyone had been trying to tell me all along. It wasn't that high school was impossible. It was that it required effort, real effort and attention. The kind you can't fake or avoid. I started to think back on everything, my parents' advice, my teachers' warnings, even other students' experiences. None of them were trying to make things sound harder than they were. They were trying to prepare me, and I hadn't listened. That realization was frustrating, but it was also important, because for the first time, I understood that ignoring advice doesn't make you independent. It just makes you dumb. From that point on, I started to change how I approached things. I began paying attention in class a little bit more. I started actually studying instead of just hoping I'd remember things. I asked for help when I didn't understand something instead of pretending I did. And most importantly, I started listening to my teachers, my parents, and even my peers. It didn't fix everything overnight. I still made mistakes. I still had moments where I fell back into old habits, but the difference was I was learning from those mistakes instead of repeating them over and over again. And yeah, I also learned to be more careful when fishing. I definitely wasn't trying to catch my sister anymore. But beyond the humor, there's a real lesson in all this. Mistakes are going to happen. That's just part of growing up. No one gets everything right the first time, but there's a difference between making a mistake and learning from it. Now it's time for the thank yous. To my class, y'all are some of the most interesting, fun, and weird people I've met. Every day someone's trying to do something, like hit on Liam, making jokes about popular dictators in the 1930s and 40s, or making fun of someone's dream about a cow puppet. But I wouldn't want to be in any other class. To the teachers, thank you for being engaging with your class and making them interesting. Also, I apologize for all the trouble that I've caused you to each and every one of your classes. To my family, to my parents, to Mom, thank you for being a caring and loving mother. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for you, and I'm sorry about not listening to you all the time. To my dad, thank you for teaching me what it means to be a man, and thank you for bringing me to those fishing trips and teaching me. I'm proud to be called both of y'all's son. To my sister, I know you're not here, but I know you're watching on a live stream. Sorry about the leg. I really did not mean to do that. Even though we got into many fights, which honestly I mostly won mentally, not physically, I still love you, and I can't wait for you to come home for the summer. To the Stooges, we made it, surprisingly. I don't remember exactly how we became friends, but I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Hopefully over the summer and into the future, we can hang out like we always have. Looking back, I realized that listening doesn't mean you have to blindly follow everything people tell you. It just means being open to the idea that other people might know more than you do. I learned that lessons through fishing trips, bad grades, and a few embarrassing moments along the way. Listen to your parents and your teachers, because they know a lot more than you do. But even if you don't listen, even if you do listen, you still might make mistakes, like hooking your sister in the calf. But that's fine, because in the end, you will catch that trophy fish you were looking for. Thank you.
I know this is the last day of speeches, and most of you are probably checked out and counting down the minutes until you can leave. But just bear with me for a little bit. If you know me, you know I love sports. Basketball and school are more similar than one might think. At the start of basketball season, everyone is relaxed, joking around, and just having fun. No one is really worried about the games ahead because they feel so far away. There's no pressure yet, just the thought that there's plenty of time to prepare. You hear hard games ahead, but you just brush it off. That feeling, that mindset, it's a lot like freshman year. Everything still feels new. Nothing seems too overwhelming, and most people are just going through the motions, figuring things out as they go, without really thinking too far ahead. Then comes that first scrimmage game. You walk into it thinking, we've got this. Like everything up to this point prepared you enough. But then about halfway through, reality hits. Oh, maybe we don't got this. Suddenly, the games feel faster, the pressure feels real, and you start thinking about all the times you could have pushed yourself harder, but you didn't. That shift, that moment when things stop feeling easy, is exactly what sophomore and junior year are like. All those times you said, I'll do it later, start to catch up with you. And no matter what, there's always going to be that moment when you're running down the court and trip over nothing, and just lie there, questioning all your life choices. That's like the first test you fail. It happens, but just like in the game, you get back up and you keep going. Then you start to realize how close that first game actually is. And suddenly, everything feels more serious. That's when your mindset begins to shift. You start pushing yourself harder, not because somebody's telling you to, but because you know you have to. And that feeling translates directly to school. You realize you can't coast anymore. You actually have to buckle down, study, and start preparing. No more cramming the morning of. There's no slacking off or waiting until the last minute. You understand that things are harder now. In practice, that looks like running ladders, doing sprints, and pushing through drills even when you're exhausted. Those moments where you find yourself wondering, why did I ever decide to play this sport in the first place? Academically, it feels pretty similar. It's the late night studying when you'd rather be doing anything else, the stress of deadlines, and the pressure to stay on top of everything. But this is also when things start to change. All that effort starts to turn into discipline. You begin building real study habits, managing your time better, and preparing ahead of time for tests and projects, instead of scrambling at the last minute. Then, before you know it, that first week of games finally arrives. Everything you've been working towards is here. That's like the first semester of senior year feels like. The moment where all that preparation starts to matter. There's always that one tough game you really have to fight through. The one that tests everything you've practiced. And in school, there are those same moments. Difficult classes, big exams, or overwhelming deadlines. But this moment, something is different. You realize you're able to keep going, to push through, because of all the effort you put in ahead of time. After all those games, the exhaustion finally starts to settle in. It's not just one bad day or one tough practice. It's everything adding up. Every early morning waking up for school, every late night getting home from games, every practice where you push yourself, even when you didn't want to. It begins to weigh on you. Your body's tired, your mind is tired, and you have this feeling of melancholy, and part of you is just ready for it to be over. At the same time, there's a part of you that isn't ready to let go yet. Because if you stop now, it feels like all that effort, all those long days and sacrifices, just disappear. Like they never really meant anything. And even if you do keep going, there's still that quiet fear in the back of your mind that it might not be enough. That no matter how hard you try, things might not turn out the way you hoped. And as hard as it is, maybe you won't make the playoffs. Maybe the ending won't match everything you pictured in your head. And yeah, that's hard. But what would hurt more is walking away, because you'll always wonder, what if? At least this way, you can say you gave it everything you had. At least this way, it meant something. That feeling doesn't just stay on the court, it follows you right back into the classroom. It's the same feeling as the second semester coming to an end. You're drained mentally and physically, and ready to be done with the work, the stress, and the constant pressure to keep going. But just like in the season, there's more tied to it than just finishing, because at the same time, you're not ready to say goodbye to the people you've spent years with, to the routines that once felt normal, to all those moments that became memories without you even realizing it. So you find yourself stuck in between wanting it to be over and not wanting it to end at all. You want to stop pushing, to finally relax, but you don't, because if you let go now, you start to wonder, what was it all for? And just like in those final games, you keep going, not because it's easy and not because you're guaranteed some perfect ending, but because it matters to you, because you've worked too hard and you've come too far to quit now. In the end, it's about perseverance, how you keep pushing forward, both on the court and in life. Basketball teaches you to stay focused, to work hard, and to rise above challenges, and that mindset applies to everything you do. So keep going, even when you're tired, even when things don't go your way. Because when that final buzzer sounds, you want to be able to look back and know that you gave it your all. And now to thank some people who coached me through life. Thank you to my coaches who helped shape me into the person I am today, whether that was helping me find my phone that I lost repeatedly, or just helping me when things seemed too heavy. Thank you to my GGC. You know who you are. Thank you for always being there to listen and take my side, even when I vented about the same thing multiple times. Thank you to my car girls. I'll never forget our time together. It's something I'll always cherish. To my teammates, thank you guys for being the best teammates I could ask for. I'll never forget those late night bus rides, singing at the top of our lungs to whatever came on the radio. Or those mornings when we just looked at each other and knew, it's too early to be up. To Miss Amanda, thank you for being like a second mom to me. You were always there to listen and give me a hug when I've had a bad day, or celebrate me when I do well. Katie, I never knew what it felt like to be cool until I met you. Next to you, anyone would feel cool. Annabella, you've always been there for me, both in and outside of school. You two will always be my favorite weirdos. Andrew, I'll miss you so much. From our late night movies when Mom is yelling at us to turn off the TV because it's late, to our arguments over who is better at sports, even though we both know it's me. I love you. Avery, you went from my biggest bully to my greatest confidant. I know that if I ever need somebody, you will always be there to have my back. Sorry, guys. You've seen me at my lowest and at my best and always supported me. I couldn't ask for a better sister. I love you. Dad, you've not only been my biggest supporter, but also my coach, whether that be in sports or in life. I will never forget all the adventures we had together, from getting a flat tire in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, to running a golf cart and singing to whatever Spotify song came on. I know that even when I leave, you will always be there for me, to listen and support me. I love you, Dad. Mom, there's so much I want to say, but the biggest one is that I couldn't ask for a better mom. You will always be the person I go to when things feel too heavy, because I know you will listen and support me through whatever it is, even if sometimes you tell me things I don't want to hear, like that I might be the problem. I'll miss coming home and telling you about my day, but don't worry, I'll call you all the time, so be ready. For me, sports were a huge part of what shaped my life. It taught me discipline and to never give up when things feel hard. These principles don't just apply to basketball, they also apply to life. Never grow complacent with the gifts God has given you. Finishing strong and working diligently reflect a deeper purpose, because when you're doing your best, you're ultimately working for the Lord.
Good afternoon, Eastwood faculty, family, and friends. Last speech, guys, so lock in and prepare yourselves for the greatest metaphor of all time. Eastwood has been like my experience learning and playing the electric guitar. The electric guitar. Elementary school is like the beginner stage. You pick it up and play it terribly, but your performance is not super scrutinized. You're playing for fun, Practicing isn't difficult or dull because everything you learn is new and interesting. As you get more involved, you may get an electric guitar like I did and start causing severe hearing damage to everyone in your house. You sound terrible, but you don't care at all. You're already a pro in your head. You find Smoke on the Water to be the heaviest and most amazing riff ever written. You have a guitar teacher who begins to make you think, make you practice with more regularity, not just when you feel like it. Guitar is not a discipline yet. It's your stairway to heaven. You want to learn all the songs you listen to, but you're not quite good enough. You try some of them, but you can play them very sloppily. You're not really thinking ahead so much as thinking in the present. Elementary school was just like this. There's no competition really yet. You're just having fun learning new things. Things are simple, and stuff makes sense. Logic school is like becoming an intermediate guitarist. Now you're starting to gain the ability to play the songs you've listened to for years. You start listening to music differently, and guitar solos begin to creep in your mind. You dream of being like Eddie Van Halen, ripping solos and melting people's faces off. But you can't play nearly that fast. But now you want to try. You want to get good. You start to practice with discipline. You start practicing scales, learning solos, and trying to get better. You try really hard to learn your first solo. It may be the Nothing Else Matters solo, but a solo nonetheless. You need a new guitar to match your talent and awesomeness. You want something that fits you, but fits more with your taste. Your dreams of playing in a band and playing cool riffs and leads are now becoming a reality. This is where you begin to think ahead. What can I play next? What should I do? Can I play in a band? These questions can only be answered by how much and how far you're willing to take the guitar. Logic school is where you start to see your life ahead of you. You start dreaming. The difficulty increases. School is not just a fun little game, it's a discipline. As you get better and better, you begin to lose traction. You think, oh, I'm good enough, I can chill for now. You start to relax. Practicing becomes kind of like, whatever. And you get into this habit. You're not a bad player, but you're not improving. Now you pick up the guitar whenever you feel like it. It's fun for a little while, but it's not the great fulfilling journey it has been for the past year or two. This was like 8th grade. I was in Mr. Cheel's history class, just doing what had to be done. I wasn't trying to do anything special. This caused me to almost fail. That woke me up. I can't just pick up the guitar or school whenever I want. I need a goal. I need things to focus on and something to strive for. So I plugged back into the grind once again. This time, I wanted to be able to play something different and difficult. This time, I needed a goal. This time, I wasn't going to slack off. It's time to shred. Once you lock in again, you become addicted. Now you have songs you want to learn, solos to master, and technique to fix. You begin to obsess over picking angles, speed, and your clarity. It is at this point that the world of other guitars becomes visible in your head. The guitar has taken over. You start scouring the internet for gear, amps, pedals, guitars. You name it, I've looked for it. This was like 9th grade, and 9th and 10th grade to a lesser degree. You know what you need to do, and the effort you need to put in, so you do it. Next, you start looking for your guitar. Not just some guitar, like just a round, but the guitar. The final piece of the puzzle. The last infinity stone. It's like you finally understand some math concept, or now you have a good sense of what Mr. Miller is going to put on the next test. You're now unstoppable. The future lies before you as your plaything. You're ready to take your place as a rock god. But however much of a virtuoso you are, you can still fall short. Playing live or taking tests, you get one shot. You can't go back and make edits or repair the damage. What's done is done. This is the great trade-off of live playing and tests. You can prepare all you want, and sometimes things go great. But sometimes things go horribly wrong, and maybe you didn't prepare enough, or you were tired, or maybe just a string broke. Sometimes strings break, and there's nothing you can do to avoid it or fix it once a string is broken. On my Ibanez has a Floyd Rose type bridge, so when one string breaks, the entire bridge becomes misaligned and the guitar is unplayable. You get one really hard question that just breaks your resolve, and now you mope your way through the rest of the test knowing you've messed up badly and dread to see it put back into numbers. You have to lose every once in a while, but your failure only makes you try harder next time. You know what to look for. Maybe the next show or test you get it right. You iron out some of the kinks that held you up previously. You get to the gig earlier. You learn everything and ready or study for the tests. But you learn from your mistakes and get better and better. This begins the uphill battle towards senior thesis. This is like the big performance. For us, it was like the talent show. We prepared like crazy for it, weeks of practicing and checking. We had to force our drummer to show up every once in a while. The main song was like the paper. You got to change on time and play on time with the right notes and avoid hitting the wrong ones. If you make a mistake, there are two guitars, so it's covered by the other. You've got to make the corrections, prepare the sources, and argue your point well. The oral defense was like the guitar solo. You can't go back and edit it. You can't correct mistakes. The song won't restart if you fail. Whatever you play is what they're going to hear. At the start, you're terrified, and your fingers are shaking, but you got to get over your fear and let loose. Once you get going, though, it's not so bad. You've got to think ahead and also make sure you're not making a dumb face like Colin Daniel Jacobson. No offense, bud. You may even start to enjoy it, but just as it started, it is over. Then it's done, and it wasn't that bad. If you've practiced the songs and prepared enough, you'll be just fine. And it takes many fans to make a band famous, so I would like to thank all the people in my life who have allowed me to rock. To the teachers and the faculty of Eastwood, you all show so much integrity and knowledge in every subject you teach. Eastwood is truly a special place, and I'm thankful you made it one for me. To my class, you guys have been with me since 3rd grade, with my glasses and really cool Ohio lore. I'd like to thank you all for being such great friends and companions all these years. I will miss you all dearly. To the band, you guys are great. We've spent many a Sunday afternoon together, and Colin and I have wasted a lot of our time with our random riffs and making it impossible for anything to happen. I'll miss you guys a lot. To the gang, Nene and Bella, y'all will be remembered. To my RPC youth group, y'all are amazing, and I'm sad to go. To the Stooges. How this name is stuck for like 5 years is crazy. Mr. Teal has the best nicknames. It's been really fun, and I'm excited to see where y'all go. To Matt. My boy, we spent plenty of time discussing guitars and telling Knox how he is very wrong. I can't wait to spend 4 years at Auburn with you. To Isaiah. Holy mackerel, you are my best friend. We've probably put 1,000+ hours into War Thunder and have destroyed many a tank. You also are teaching me my lefts and rights, and for that I'm very grateful. You keep me from going too crazy, and I can't wait to spend 4 years at Auburn together. To my siblings, to Ruthie. You know, I have to say I'm surprised you can deal with us. Me and the boys are pretty annoying sometimes, but I'm glad that we have our truces from time to time. To Elias, you're the silent troublemaker and the leprechaun of our house. It's been great to be your older brother, and I can't wait to see where you go in life. To Sam. You are the most stubborn and ridiculous child I know. Unfortunately, we're very similar people. I will glad to have a break from your shenanigans, but I cannot wait to see how many corgis you get. And yes, you will get married. Mark my words. To Mom, you're the most patient, the most understanding, and the toughest woman I know. I will miss our late-night discussions of whatever is happening and teaching me that a conversation is not just me monologuing about tanks or guitars to some poor person. I love you. To Dad, you're the wisest person I know, a true human Google. You've taught me so much about the world and life. You instilled in me the love of guitar, metal, and tanks. You also proved somehow that Conan the Barbarian is still a thing. You've taught me so much how to be a good, God-fearing man, and I will strive to emulate you every day, except for your hair. I love you. I would like to conclude this by giving my final words of wisdom. Talent is great, but you must practice, practice, practice. And finally, remember, mistakes happen, and there ain't nothing you can do. So when the drummer starts his count-in, be ready. And if you can do all that, then now you and I can truly rock. Thank you for listening to the 2026 Senior Speeches.
Well done, seniors. Today we got to hear about Cullen's fishing trips, Olivia's basketball, and Liam's delusions of grandeur. Students, as you've watched them do this, know that this time comes for you as well. One of the great things about doing this job at this school is I got to see them when they're 7th graders having competitions to see who could run into a wall the fastest. And now, here they are, standing up and talking like actual real human beings. And so, younger students, someday you too could be real human beings. So listen to the lessons you've heard. Look forward to this opportunity. It's a great chance to be able to share what you've learned and the very many things you failed to learn with the people around you. So I'm going to go ahead and close this in prayer because I think we've all had a great week and we're all ready for it to end. So if you would please bow your heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, your goodness is boundless. You let us delight in your creation. You don't just save us, Lord. You don't just show us the truth. You make us enjoy it. You let us revel, sinful though we are, in this creation and in the good things you've planned for us. Bless all these seniors, Lord. May these lessons live throughout their life. May they grow and serve you better. And may we all, Lord, take this weekend to rest and worship, to reflect on what this year has been and what you have coming for us. In your most holy name I pray. Amen. All right, one more hand for all the seniors.